Hello, my dear friend. You are welcome back to Political Arena, the channel we break down the stories shaping Nigeria's democracy. Please do all to subscribe, comment, like, and share. So today, the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has fired a major warning shot at the National Assembly. They've threatened to mobilize their millions of members, yes, the full force of Nigeria's organized labor, if Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is not allowed to return to the Senate. This isn't just about one senator, it's about the rule of law, the role of our courts, and whether internal politics can override democratic principles. The NLC's message was blunt and clear. They are warning the leadership of the National Assembly and their enablers, and they said Nigerians will not stand by and watch the Senate cannibalize our democracy. They are positioning themselves as defenders of justice, threatening mass action if the Senate continues to block Natasha Akpoti from returning to the Senate and resuming her duties despite a federal high court ruling in her favor. Why is this so explosive? Because when labor unions threaten to step into legislative disputes, it signals a breakdown of trust in the normal checks and balances of democracy. It also raises a dangerous question. Are we watching the early signs of institutional autocracy in Nigeria? Now let's take it all the way back. In March of 2025, Senator Natasha Akpoti, representing Kogi Central, accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexual harassment. Akpabio strongly denied the allegation, saying it was politically motivated. Shortly after, the Senate suspended Natasha for 6 months. Officially, the reason given was misconduct, refusing to sit in her assigned seat, speaking without recognition, and making abusive comments on the floor. But many observers linked the suspension directly to her harassment accusation. This suspension wasn't symbolic. She lost allowances, office access, and security. Effectively, her constituents were left without representation in the Red Chamber for 6 months. Natasha didn't take it lying down. Of course, she went to court, and the Federal High Court ruled that the 6 months suspension was unconstitutional and excessive. The court ordered her reinstatement, affirming that elected representatives cannot be stripped of their mandate by internal politics. But here's the problem. Even after that judgment, the Senate has been dragging its feet, blocking her return to the Senate, even after she has served the 6 months suspension. This brings us to the heart of the matter, which is 1. The rule of law versus parliamentary power. The court says Natasha must be reinstated. The Senate says it has the power to discipline its members. Who wins? If the Senate can ignore a court order, what does that mean for ordinary Nigerians seeking justice? Gender representation as well is on the front burner. Nigeria has very few women in the Senate. Natasha's case is being watched as a test of whether women in politics can challenge powerful men without being silenced. Civil society groups, Amnesty International, and now the NLC argue this is bigger than Natasha. It's about systemic sexism in our institution. Let's not forget, the man she accused of harassment is also the Senate President. That means the person with the most influence over Senate procedures is also central to the dispute. That alone undermines the credibility of the disciplinary process. Now, with the NLC stepping in, this is no longer just a Senate drama. If Labour mobilizes protests or strikes, it forces the executive and wider political class to pay attention. And history tells us when the NLC moves, Nigeria listens. Well, not in recent time. So here's what's at stake. If Natasha remains blocked, we risk a dangerous precedent where court rulings against the legislature means nothing. If the Senate bows to pressure, it could look weak. but it would reinforce the supremacy of the Constitution. And if the NLC makes good on its threat, this could snowball into one of the biggest political confrontations of the year. For Akpabio, his credibility as Senate President is on the line. For Natasha, this is about survival, justice, and political reputation. And for Nigerians, it's about whether democracy truly protects the weak against the powerful. So I ask, my viewer, should the Senate have the power to suspend an elected senator for months, even against a court order? Do you believe Natasha Akpoti's suspension was about misconduct or retaliation for speaking out? And finally, should the NLC, a labor movement, be wading into parliamentary battles? Please do well to drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more Nigerians can join this important conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on my political arena conversation.